everyone, I'm back at you live. This is Backtrack Cinema. My name is Jason. This is where we talk movies of the past that you know and love. And we're doing another battle, guys. So this is an original versus remake, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I brought on two good friends, Kyle from Fletts Movie and Pop Culture 13, and Steve Merlo from Sequanda Films. You probably best know him as the director of the Story Massacre. And if you haven't seen his movie, please go check it out. I'll drop it in the description later because I have not done that yet. But yeah, just in case you guys come to my channel, we haven't talked a lot of Texas Chainsaw yet. Steve directed a great film there. And how are you guys tonight?
I'm doing good, man, and thanks for having us. I love both movies. It's going to be a blast talking about each category for the film, and and I love Texas Chainsaw. This is going to be a lot of fun discussing it with two awesome friends tonight, and it's going to be a blast.
Awesome. I'm doing great too, man. Should be a fun chat.
Yeah, I have a feeling the original is going to kick ass here. I tried to find people who like the remake more, but it was difficult. So, but anyways, we're gonna go through some numbers and stuff like that. And let's just say hi to Jeff. It says, "Hey, Jason, what's going on, Jeff? Big fan. He's a big fan of the '70s horror. He loves this movie."
And it's awesome that we're talking about Texas Chainsaw because with the game hot right now, and
yeah, the game hot,
and the DLC is coming out soon. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw some of you guys playing that online. I don't really have a video game system, but it looks cool anyway. But this is also part of my 70s horror month. I'm reviewing 70s horror films all month, and man, it's been fun. It's been fun. It's been focused, and I'm not doing Black Christmas though. We're waiting till December because I love that freaking movie so much. So yeah, so you know what? I'll let people come in as they do. If you guys can't, I get it. You can't. If it's too late for you, all that kind of stuff, you can go watch the replay. There's a lot of replay value in this because we're gonna be going through this. So let's just let's pull up some numbers here. Sorry, I gotta go back to my slide here. All right, there we go. All right, so the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, October 11th, 1974, directed by Tobe Hooper, box office 30 million. Rotten Tomatoes score of 89%, audience score 82%. Kyle, what do you think? What do you think of those numbers there, or would anything jump at you?
30 million at the box office. For
budget of 60,000. I didn't write that in, but apparently it was a budget of 60,000.
And the boxes for 30 million. I think it had an awesome debut because that's way over budget, and for a great, amazing film to do that, small budget to do that. I don't know, scale back then, that is phenomenal, and I think Texas Chainsaw did really well and really good numbers there. So, and what's the score at the bottom?
89%, 82%. So one's the critics on the left, on the right is the audience. The audience is a little lower,
but even though it should be higher, but I still think that's a really good number. And critics, that's pretty good score because
you know what? That's the one that surprised me. The critics like this movie like a lot
because the critics back then were really harsh to horror back then, so it was hard for them to get really good scores. So that's pretty bad. Good. I mean,
does any of these numbers surprise you, Steve?
Not too much. I mean, box office 30 million. I bet that would be higher if it wasn't banned in so many places.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
So
yeah.
It probably seems a little low, but we also got to remember this is 1974. So box office numbers, you take into account inflation, it's probably somewhere around 100 million is what it would compare
maybe
to today.
More, Steve. Maybe
could more. I don't know. I don't know the exact inflation numbers, but I'm guessing around 100 million somewhere, and the budget would probably be equivalent to, I don't know, 150,000, 200,000, somewhere in there. So yeah, it's definitely those are good numbers. Again, the Rotten Tomato scores. I try not to take too much into, with Rotten Tomato, it's a lot of those 89%, they could have just loved the movie, or it could have been a 10 out of 10 for them, and the people that didn't like it could have been like 50%, it's like 45%. They didn't hate it, but they didn't like it enough to get it over that hump. So you just never know. But again, they're pretty decent Rotten Tomato scores. And I think, another thing you have to take into account with the critics is Rotten Tomato critics are more modern audiences.
Yeah.
But those are not the critics from 1974. Probably a lot of
I
those.
never thought about that, actually.
Yeah.
Aren't even alive now. Some of them are maybe, but not that many, that's for sure. So these are a little bit more modern critics when the movie, had more of a cult following and stuff like that. So, and appreciate it more for that. So that's probably why that is higher than the audience score. Probably. Speculating though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked because I always feel like this is a summer movie, and yet it was released in October. Kind of threw me for a loop there.
October 11th.
Yep.
Wow.
And the next one, release date October 17th, 2003, directed by Marcus Nispo. Box office 107 million worldwide. I took the worldwide box office. I think this one had a budget around 12 million, 9 million. I read it, but I forgot the actual number. Rotten Tomatoes, 37% critics, 58% the audience. So the audience clearly loves this a bit more, but I thought that would be a bit higher because people you know what? This is 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
People, I find people really like this movie, like a lot. There's a lot of people I talk to like love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. It definitely paved the way for all the remakes that we've gotten, because then they did like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. They were remaking everything after this movie.
Yeah, and this has definitely been considered one of the best remakes of all time, and it did something fresh. It didn't just copy the original; it did its own thing, and that's why it's a success. Well, the critics, but that's why it's over time it's become one of the greatest remakes ever because it did its own thing. That's what remakes should do.
Admittedly, I really liked it when it first came out a lot more than I do now. And I find that with a lot of these remakes that they're not aging like the originals do.
I agreed.
Personally, like I like this way more than I never saw the original when I saw this in 2003. Then I went back and watched the original. And I went, I'm not seeing the movie people are seeing. To me, it was very budget, which I didn't appreciate that aspect of it yet. And I was like, this is not scary. And not till I started doing YouTube, talking to guys like Steve, say, give it another chance. And I went back and watched it. I went, I saw the movie everyone was seeing. So I think maturity as a film fan helps as older you get. And I like it a lot now. So
yeah.
Steve, what about these numbers for you?
Again, the Rotten Tomato score, you really can't take too much into account with Rotten Tomatoes. So critics pretty much hate every remake.
Yeah.
And and in the horror genre, I don't know, it's
tough.
It's not I know. Remakes in the horror genre are tough for me anyways too, and most of them I don't care for, other than some of the older ones that I think a lot of people don't even consider to be remakes, like The Thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The Thing, The Fly.
Yeah.
A more modern one I didn't mind as much was The Hills Have Eyes. I do kind of like that one. I thought that was a pretty good remake, but I think my favorite remakes are not in the horror genre. I think my favorite remake of all time would probably have to be Heat by Michael Mann, and it was a remake of his own film. It was a great remake. He made his film way better. I mean, he should have made it that way in the first place. And so I mean, it's again, I just think critics are always kind of hard on remakes, and it even though it's definitely one of the better remakes, it still doesn't. There are things in the original that this just it couldn't do. So I respect it for trying. I actually thought this was a movie I really thought was going to. I was very young at the time. I was only 23 when this movie came out, and I saw the previews for it, and I was so excited for it. And going to the theater, I was first in line, me and my buddy, and when it starts so good, and just a couple of not so good things brought it down. But overall it's still a pretty it's a good remake for a horror remake. So
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when you talk about the way it started, I love the black and white of it, and the narration. I think it's
The
good. All
documentary
that,
style.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, all that,
that made
all
it
that.
feel like the original
Yeah,
to a point, right?
Yeah.
That whole beginning there really gave it that documentary feel, like Kyle said, and it just it felt authentic. Those police officers, they looked authentic, and that's what you really need in a movie like this.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that there are some other aspects, and I don't know if we have time to get into that, but
yeah, we will. We'll get into it. We're gonna get into it very soon here. Just gonna say hello to people in the chat. Jeff says the remake is very good. Yeah. Ginger Ninja, Jason. Hey, buddy, what's going on? He said, how's everyone going? I'm good, buddy.
Doing
And
good.
Caleb from the Dark Ether says, hello there.
Hello, Caleb.
Hello.
What's going on, Caleb, buddy? All right, let's get down to business now. Let's start with characters. Now, leave the final girl out if you like, because they're gonna have their own battle here. But we got, Franklin and Pam and Jerry, Kirk, and there's Sally there. We'll talk about her later. And then we got the new crew. There you go. I don't even remember their names, but I remember their names. So, so Kyle, who do you got for characters? What did you feel about the characters in each film, and who you picking?
Well, start off with the original. I think, with the original, you had Kirk and Pam and Franklin and all of them, and Jerry. You really felt, Pam and Kirk were a couple. They really felt like they were friends on a trip, in the middle of Texas. I thought the characters were good in the original. Because I think each character has their own kind of small story arc, very brief. The things they go through, despite them, sometimes, teasing Franklin, they still cared for him. You really felt the connection to all of them, and then the remake, of course, I thought the actors did a decent job for what they were given in the remake. I think what's the guy in the glasses? What's his name?
I don't even know what his name was, but that's what I mean. I don't remember their names. Yeah. They're forgettable for me, and I'll wait for my turn. But
I think he has the best performance.
I'll agree with Kyle on that. Of all five of those characters, he's the best actor.
Especially when it comes to the van scene that he has.
Van scene. Wow, you and I amazing. Are seeing eye to eye on this.
Yeah,
the chemistry between him and Arlie Ermy in that scene.
Yeah,
it almost made the movie scary.
Now keep in mind, the Sawyer, what are they called in this? The Hewitt family.
The Hewitt, yeah,
would be part of the characters in the remake. Just don't look at that picture there.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about like
everybody in general. Okay, sheriff and the Sawyers and Hewitts will.
Yeah, sorry, well. I should have like that's.
Oh, okay.
So keep that in mind.
Oh, okay. Now this definitely changes it.
I know.
Okay. Because you got Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface. I think rest in peace. The original, always original. But there's something creepy and dark how Ed Neal played as the hitchhiker, because he comes in all nice and and starts communicating with Franklin and everything. But then the tone changes when he starts getting all and then cut the Franklin's hand and does that that dance of blood. And Jim Steedow, he starts just, you think he's just a normal good character that just works at the gas station, and you find out that he's part of the family, and he has some great liners. I think he has the one. I think he's the best performance out of the family. And that's saying a lot because Gunnar and Neil does a phenomenal job as well. But with the Hewitt side, I think the best actor out of the Hewitt side is definitely it's got to be Ari Hermy because he great. But I think the that's supposed to be like the mom or the mother of the family. I think she's amazing as well, and the guy in the wheelchair. They all have their purpose. So, but and even the Leatherface, there's technically there's two Leatherfaces, but the main guy who did most of the movie, he was running and fast. But I gotta go with what Arnie Hermy is awesome, but I gotta go with the original because each family members and the characters did amazing. But I still think there's some amazing performances on the remake side. So
awesome. There you go.
Yeah.
This would probably be the closest category for me. Probably the closest.
Yeah.
There's one other category that might be pretty close for me, but yeah, I mean, because both sides have got great characters, and I think both sides have got some not so good characters as well, or at least not great characters where could be better, sort of thing. So let's start with the group of five for both. In the original, there's nothing really about any of the characters other than Franklin that kind of stands out. Franklin is the only character that kind of really stands out, and you feel like you're getting to know this guy. In fact, you almost kind of feel like he's got to be the protagonist in the early going of the film, which is, it's his story that's kind of being told more than Sally's at that point, and it's only when he's killed off that Sally becomes all of a sudden she's the final girl. So, I mean, I personally think the acting of all five of them though there's nothing wrong with the acting. I've heard a lot of people knock the acting on all five of them. I just think the characters themselves are not really, they're not very fleshed out. They're not the most interesting because they're just normal people. They're normal early 20s type of kids and just on a road trip. And I feel like that was a very, very realistic aspect for them to take, just to not really create such a big, story arc with any of them, or really get a massive amount of character development from them because you didn't really need to. That's not what this movie was about. So they didn't go that route. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, character-wise, are they really that interesting? Not really. But I don't hate them. I don't love them, right? I'm not crying when each one of them is killed or anything like that. But I still am kind of scared when when it happens and when Leatherface comes out. It's like, whoa, he's there, and this guy means business. So let's now talk about the Sawyers and the Hewitts a little bit. Again, I think both sides have their strengths and weaknesses, but again, there's something really creepy and sinister about the Sawyers. Ed Neal's portrayal of the hitchhiker is so authentic, and maybe I feel it more because I've met somebody like the hitchhiker. I've known somebody with a mental illness that was so similar to that. So maybe that affects me more because I knew somebody like that at one point, and I know how creepy they are. So maybe that's why. Grandpa, obviously, like John Dugan did a great job as Grandpa, but at the same time, didn't do a lot. And I love John Dugan. I'm friends with the guy. I worked with the guy. He, he's a great actor, and he's won some awards for his last film. But you're not going to give him an Oscar for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It wouldn't happen. But he does very little in the film, but what he does well. And he's kind of the character that kind of sparks that moment of, oh, holy crap, these guys are cannibals, when he's sucking Sally's finger. And I think that's one of the most memorable moments of that movie. is, hey, these guys are, if you thought maybe they could be cannibals, now you know they're cannibals. You know. So Leatherface, you know, Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, you can't top him. You can't top him. Jim Siedow as the cook. You know, it's rest in peace, Jim. He was a legend, you know, and there's we took his character a different route in the Sawyer massacre, and I think we did. I did it that way because I read this original script of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there was a big character description on his character that made me really want to put the character in that direction that we did for the Sawyer massacre, and you can see it. You can see it. You know, there's a few people out there that think that what we did in our film was like an abomination to the character, but you know, you can see that part of him. He has a bit of humanity, and it does shine through a little bit. There's those moments where he's like enjoying it, but he doesn't want to enjoy it. And I think Jim Siedow just did such a great job doing that. So, I mean, probably the weakest character of the bunch is Grandpa.
Yeah.
But even he is still pretty good. As far as the remake goes, to me, I got three standouts. And that's the mom. I can't remember their names. We'll call her Mama Hewitt. And then I think it's Uncle Morty. I want to say Uncle Morty with
guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, your highlight is Arlie Ermey as the sheriff. So those three are great. I really felt like those three did an amazing job. I'm not the biggest remake Leatherface fan. You know, I kind of wish that Brett Wagner got to keep the role. I would have liked to see what he could have done more with it. I'm not a fan of the way. What's his name? I can't remember. Andrew Brinesky.
Broski, yeah.
Broski. We'll call him Broski. Andrew Broski. Sorry, Andrew, I'm butchering your name. I'm just not a fan of the way he portrayed the character. He was just kind of a brute. He felt like he was trying to be a badass. You know, it just didn't feel like Leatherface to me.
We will be having a Leatherface round 2, so you don't.
No, that's true. So I won't get too much into that. I won't get too much into that. But you know, let's just say I was a little underwhelmed with Leatherface, and I was kind of underwhelmed with the other Hewitt. There was the tea lady. She was okay, but she just kind of felt senseless. Like, why is she here?
Well, maybe too much of the family was in there.
And that's okay, but you know, there's nothing wrong with them. And the other lady, I don't even know what she was there for, other than to steal the baby. I guess that was
that's all she was for.
Yeah. So, so for that, I just because those two characters are so forgettable to me, that I probably give the overall characters to the original, just barely, but you know. I didn't even talk about the main group, you know, honestly. The guy with the glasses, the nerdy guy, he was kind of the standout of the group. And you know, if I want to give the remake a little bit more props, the girl that killed herself in the beginning, she was great. I thought, that was an intense moment of the movie. It kind of brought me back into it after I was losing interest with them, you know, smoking weed in the van and stuff like that. I was kind of losing interest, and then she kind of brought it back for me. But yeah, I still have to give it to the original.
Yeah, she's set up for foreshadowing too, right? She's foreshadow with Jessica Biel. All right, I guess I'll go on the opposite for you guys. I'm gonna take the remake for the characters, but Arlie, what's his name?
Arlie Ermey, the sheriff.
Yeah, Arlie Ermey. He's what pushed it over for me when I'm thinking about the characters, and how he interacts with them. Like, so sadistic. Like, just like, would you get the fuck out of my way, son? Like, he's so like, and
he was great.
And these two, the girl they pick up who makes out with the blonde guy, and the what's his name? The guy with the glasses. They were just gonna take off and leave Kemper in the house, and like were like, okay, no, just fuck your boyfriend. Let's freaking get the hell out of here. So kind of douchebags, but they're all the acting's really good. But I think when I think of character, I think, okay, what are you doing to get me invested? And when Leatherface lifts Kemper up and the wedding ring, the engagement ring falls out, at least there was something there to go. Oh, he was going to propose to her and stuff like that. So that pushes it a bit over. The original, I think they're fine. They're fine. The acting's really good. I think they could have been more fleshed out, but I don't think that was the point of that movie. Right? The point, like I said in my review, it was an experience. And I think if he fleshed too much out, maybe that would have took away from it, if that makes any sense. So I'll give the characters the remake, but Arlie Ehrman's definitely what pushes it for me, because he's like more he stole the movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
like,
because
I would agree he did that for sure.
Because you think, without knowing anything else before seeing the beginning, you think he's just a normal sheriff, and then he's part of the family.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to the next round, let's make my points down here. All right. So I can keep track. Ginger Ninja has very good things about it, and enough that is different too to make it stand on its own. Austin from SPC Unleashed, remake is better than the original personally for me. You're not alone there. A lot of people feel that way. Matt says, "What's going on, J-Man and gents?" Hey Matt, how you doing?
Hey Matt.
There was one character that was more annoying in the
Hey,
original
Austin and Fauci.
Yeah, that's Franklin. You're probably talking about. A lot of people find him annoying. Matt says, "I don't know. Both group of characters are just there." Yeah, to a certain degree. Adam says, "You have to be on crack to think the 2003 remake is better than the 1974 version." Laughing my ass off. That's funny, actually. I love that. Ninja again. The remake has a flashier, shiny feel to it, whereas the original feels grimy, dirty, but in a good way. Yeah, we'll get into that. So,
oh yeah.
What's up,
popping
Katie?
the popcorn. Hey, Katie says hi, everyone. How you doing? Jamie, what's going on? She says hello.
Jamie.
Jamie says, I love them both, but prefer to watch the remake. Fair. All right. Style and tone. So we got a cinematography category. So this is basically just how you guys feel about the tone they were both going after and the style. So Kyle, what do you think? Who do you got for style and tone?
Well, the original, it's got that grindhouse feel, that grittiness, that 70s, that iconic 70s Texas feel back then. The way it was shot, and the style, it just, you really feel dirty after watching the original, just how the tone is. And with the remake, it was in a different type of tone, more like a shiny version of it. There's still some dark tones in there, but it felt more like you were more in the modern day Texas than 70s, even though that's what it was going for. But the original, there's a really dark stuff in there. There's even a little more to shows that there's still some really subtle black comedy going on in there. Very subtle. But and then with the remake, it's a different. With the remake, it's like flashier, shiny, dark feel, but it still has a really good tone, but it's different type of feel. But I still think the original, the Grindhouse, because really, shock audiences. But the remake still has a good dark feel to it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's the original has this dark, grimy tone. The little black comedy. The wife and I laugh every time. Here's this family just mutilating people, and he's worried about Leatherface sawing through a fucking door, going,
"Look what your brother."
Yeah, don't you got any pride in your home? Like, I laugh.
You ruined the door.
And that's really the only part I laugh at. So when I think of tone, Toby Hooper got a really nice, consistent tone, and it feels like a real roller coaster ride for me. Like like you're going up a roller coaster. There's that slow build up, and then it shoots down, and that's what this movie really feels like to me. Like something's gonna shit's gonna hit the fan. You're just waiting for it, right? And the remake is kind of like I feel like I start coming out of the movie on their way to the farmhouse because they're going for a lot of jump scares that are just okay. He's putting his hand in the thing, and the little kid running around, and it's like, okay, let's go, let's get to the house, right? Like they're filling it with these jump scares, but it was the same cinematographer, I believe. It was Daniel Pearl.
Yeah, Daniel Pearl.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's shot very well, and I think they got a really good tone for the remake as well. But for me, I got the original for style and tone because I just love that documentary, gritty, grimy feel. And like Steve said earlier, like that beginning of the remake, they should have extended that. Like they should have started being more like that.
I wish that tone stayed for the rest of the movie because it
there
goes all over
was
the place.
there's a little shift in tone there. There's a little shift in tone there that Steve was talking about earlier, but I got the original.
It's the moment that Sweet Home Alabama kicks in is where I kind of check out of the remake. And there's nothing. I have nothing against that song other than the fact that I've had to play it in bars a million times, and I freaking hate it. But anyways,
yeah,
it's the life of a touring musician, who plays covers in bars and weddings and whatnot. So it comes with the territory. But at the same time, even back then when I was just a kid, I knew that song hadn't come out yet in 1973. Because I just know because I'm really good with years of songs, and that song came out in 1974. So I was already kind of off put by that fact. I know a lot of people wouldn't be, taken out just with that, but the song itself was kind of ruining the tone of what you were setting up in that beginning. You announced the title, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought that totally fucked up the tone. I'm sorry. It took me out. I was taken out of the movie while they're building up those characters and the weed smoking and going down to Mexico and blah blah blah, and picked up somebody, and I can't remember who they picked up, one of the characters, and then brought back in when that hitchhiker or the girl, not really a hitchhiker, just a girl, but it's
really I will say it's really shocking, especially where she grabs the gun from too. I'm like,
that whole scene was great. They needed more of that, and again, her performance. I wish the rest of the cast was as good as her. Again, the guy with glasses was pretty damn good.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying though, because when the wife and I recently watched this, we're like, when that music kicked in, I was kind of like, I knew something went off. I was like,
something went off. It just the 70s vibe was gone.
Yeah, I didn't feel like
the characters themselves didn't feel like 1970s characters. The way they talked, the clothes they wear, the clothes they wore, just really didn't feel like it. And I've been told this as I've gotten into the film industry. One thing that costume designers will do is try to make something that's acceptable for that time period, but it's to please a modern audience. So, for costume wise, they're trying to make something acceptable, but you could possibly believe it existed in the 1970s, but it's to please a modern audience. So that's why you had Jessica Biel with the midriff sort of shirt going on, even though that was not really a look back then. But it's just one of those things that you can kind of see past it if you want to, but it kind of it throws off the whole movie for me personally. That whole tone meeting the characters, and it's funny. It jumps all over the place. There's so many tonal moments, where it feels great, and then other ones where it feels like they're trying to over dramatize stuff. A good example of that is when he puts the guy on the meat hook. He holds this guy up in the air for like 10 seconds before he actually puts him on the hook, and it's in the air for like 10 seconds so that they can get a good focus pull of the meat hook that's beside him and his facial reaction looking over at the hook. And like that would not happen. Leatherface would not hold the guy in the air for 10 seconds before actually putting him on the hook. He would just take him up. And in the original, he takes a girl, puts her on the hook, puts her on the hook. And I kind of lost your mic there.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, it's times like those where I get taken out of it a little bit, you know, and I know what they're doing. I get it, but at the same time,
it sounds good.
Guy on the hook.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, especially the way they end it with Leatherface coming in with the documentary footage. It's like they captured the beginning tone again, and there's an uneasy feeling kind of at the end, but it's kind of in the middle there where this is how I describe it best. Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't feel like a movie. The remake feels like you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre feels like an experience.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And you know what? A lot of 70s horror feels like that. I don't know what it is about 70s films, but they don't feel like movies. Like even watching The Exorcist, I just watched The Omen for the first time and I went, oh my God, how come I have not seen this fucking movie? Because I said, right? So they don't feel like movies when I watch a 70s movie. It's really like from like Rocky to this to all those great 70s movies.
You really feel like you're watching realistic, real life stuff too when you're watching those films. The 70 films.
So we all three of us got the original on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Yeah. I know I do. All right. Jamie says some of those angles in the original are gorgeous. I think it has a better cinematography. The remake looks good too, but it's a bit darker of a palette. Yeah, it's got a greenish hue to it. The remake too.
I will say to this, I love that camera work that when Pam's walking to the house, towards the house.
Yeah, that's one of that shot.
Yeah, the butt shot I call it. Sam says, "Hello, cool peeps."
Hello.
All right, what's next? Cinematography. So, shot by the same guy. We discussed this before. All right, so this is hands down the original for me. I didn't have to think about this because we were just talking about that. It always feels like someone's watching them with those nice wide shots, panning over the Pam shot. It's almost like, beware of this house. This is Dracula's castle. Don't go in there. And when he does that with that angle, looking up at that house, it's gorgeous. But one of my favorite shots in this film, I don't know if it's everyone else's favorite, but near the end, when Sally jumps out the window, she pauses and the camera does this real circle around. There's a circle swing around her. Great shot.
Oh, yeah.
Great shot. Almost like she's doing one of these where to run to, right?
Yeah.
And too, I love the camera work too when Hitchhiker and Leatherface is chasing her. How it's shot too, and it's like, oh my gosh, run, Sally.
Yeah, they really make you feel like she's not going to get away.
No, he's
really
just there.
Ugly. Yeah,
he just shows up. He's freaking there. Comes out of freaking nowhere, and
especially with
that must have been just like crazy back then.
And I do love the camera shot. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I like the camera shot. Oh,
sorry. I wish I saw this as a kid. That's all I wanted to say. I wish I got this one because this probably would have terrified me.
Especially the camera shot when they pick up Ed O'Neill's Hitchhiker. The way it's how far shot it's from too.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
There you go.
Is that?
Oh yeah. Is it? Is it?
I was just letting Steve to talk a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So cinematography. You know what? Both films are shot really well. Danny Pearl obviously had more to work with on the remake, and I mean, if you really look at the remake, it does have some great cinematography. I'll give it that. It kind of makes this category close for me. But again, we're talking, the tone of the movie. I think he did the best he could with what they were working with. But yeah, it just doesn't capture that same feel. Now, at the same time, we're talking cinematography. We're really talking about the lighting and stuff like that. And so, the way that Danny Pearl lit all the scenes, and he lit both movies really well. He had a budget on the remake, and one thing that will get criticized probably about the original is that there's a lot of overexposed shots. Like when they open the door, it's like very, very bright. That sort of backlighting of the sun in the doorway. Again, that's a low budget thing. You're dealing with a lot of natural lighting and stuff like that, so you don't really have and a time frame. You can't just wait for the sun to go behind a cloud or something like that. That's not with low budget filmmaking. You don't have that that luxury. So you if you take it on its own, you might give it to the remake just as cinematography alone. People would judge the cinematography there's no flaws really cinematography wise in the remake, no real flaws anyways, whereas you got that overexposure a lot of times in the original. At the same time, I feel like that tends to add to the cinematography. It adds to the tone, that kind of feel adds to it. So even though it's not something that would be looked at as great cinematography from that point of view, it still works for the movie. So if we're talking camera angles and camera movement and stuff like that, definitely the original. Other than the one shot, I think the one shot that always stands out from the remake is the shot of the camera going through the girl's head after she kills herself.
Yes, I was just going to mention that, Steve. Yeah, she shoots herself.
That is a fantastic shot.
He pulls back. Yeah, he did the same thing in the Friday the 13th remake, but the Texas Chainsaw was part of storytelling. Pulling back. The Friday the 13th remake was just them getting into the Jeep, and he just like it was a useless shot. In other words, like he didn't really have to. It didn't add anything to that movie.
Yeah, that'll definitely go down for me as probably the best shot of the remake.
I think I agree with you.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, this is a close category for me. Both films are shot incredibly well. The lighting is obviously better in the remake, but overall composition and creativity and stuff like that, I probably have to go with the original just a little bit. It's close though.
I go with the original too. I'm gonna say one more thing. There's one shot in the remake besides the one you guys said. You know how they shoot? Well, it looks like remember when he's walking to the house, how it's walking to the truck, and it's how it's panned out. It looks like she's in the truck, but she's actually in the car. The camera.
Oh yeah.
How they shoot that, I think that's very genius there. And then she's not in the truck, and she runs him over.
I feel like that's more of an editing thing though than
editing. Yeah.
I don't know if you consider that necessarily fantastic cinematography because there's multiple shots that we're looking at.
And really, it's how you're telling the story with the camera. That's too. Some of my favorite. This could be editing too. Now that I think about it, but I love the eye shots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all those. I think it's a bit of both because you got to get those shots right, but the way they edited it, with that music going, like these little hits and stuff like that, and her eyes are just like.
And it gets closer with every shot. It gets closer and closer. They must have had a really, really tight lens. I've never worked with a lens that tight.
Yeah, I have no idea why I love eye shots. I just do. Like in Black Christmas with the eye.
Oh yeah, that eye. Yeah.
Anytime when someone's terrified and you focus in on their eyes, it just adds such a unsettling nature. Maybe because you can't see what she's seeing in that moment. You know what I mean? And it just works for me. So yeah,
that's why
I agree.
I don't mean to go off top. That's why I loved how Dave and Bruce did the eye in their movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Chang, the Texas remake is a Michael Bay produced track. You know what? That's all fair, man. I don't care what you trash. It's all good. That's why we have opinions.
Yeah.
Music. Or lack of music, really. Steve already mentioned Sweet Home Alabama. There's no music in the original Texas Chainsaw in that sense. And when there is music, it's a very low atmospheric kind of music, which I think really works. for the whole what
Oh,
they're going after, and they know when not to put music in. That's what I like about the original a lot. Whereas
Yeah.
but I also don't mind the music in the remake, not
Yeah.
the rock music aside.
Yeah.
Again, they went for something very low, unsettling, kind of just to get your blood pressure up, kind of. And I think it works too. But for me, this was the original as well.
mine too, because I think, well, the music where they use it in the original is just geniusly, and of course the score at the beginning is just iconic, it's amazingly. Yeah, I got to go with the original because when they throw beats in there properly, it's at the right time to really engage in the scene. So the remake didn't really have that much. It was just all over the place in that kind of aspect.
I'll say this. Well, first off, Sweet Home Alabama kills the music aspect in the remake.
Yeah,
single-handedly. But I'll say this though, also, not the music in the remake is fine. It feels like it works for that type of the film it was. However, if you played me the score for the remake and then played me the score for the original, I'll pick out the original instantly. Whereas I probably have to listen to the remake for quite a while before I can say, oh, I think that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and it would take me a bit to realize that okay, that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Again, it's not about, like you pointed out, Jason, it's not really music per se. I mean, there's a little bit of melodic tones, but very, very, very little. It's more of a sound design. And I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a perfect experimentation with sound design. And what was the name of the sound design guy for it? Can't remember his name now, but I'll know as soon as I hear his name. But he was genius. The sounds he created, that camera sound, iconic.
Yeah,
He created pretty much everything. I know Toby Hooper helped him with a few things, but yeah, I mean, you have to go with the original. Just it because you know it. When you hear it, you know it. At least I do. That's for sure.
yeah.
Excellent. All right, so it's another sweep.
Especially the sound that makes it's like really dark pots of pans hitting each other.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I tried recreating that a little bit for my movie, and I was failing. I couldn't do. I don't know how they created that. Because the Story Massacre, I did a lot of the score for that, and a lot of it was me experimenting with different sounds I could record, and changing the pitch on certain things, and one of the main ones I used a lot was actually a dumpster, the lid on a dumpster, getting different sounds, whether it was banging or making a squealing sound, and that one turned out to be pretty good on our film. But I did try to do something kind of like the pots and pans sound, and I couldn't get it.
We got Chad in the house.
Hey, Chad.
What's up, Chad?
Long time no see or hear.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How you doing, buddy? I hope you're doing well. All right. Let's move on.
Ooh.
The scare factor. The scare factor. Yeah, I find the original much scarier. And that's one of the things everyone told me about the remake. Before I watched it in 2003, everyone was saying this is the scariest movie ever. Don't say that to me, because I'm like, okay, you're overhyping this movie way too much. And they also said, oh, you'll be closing your eyes. It's bloody and it's gross, and they hardly show anything in the remake.
There's not really much gore in there.
It's not
There's
really
not much gore.
either.
Whereas I think they should have went gory with it, because you're not going to recapture what happened in the original, where it's not gory at all. And I think that's what's so damn scary about it, because it's just, like Leatherface is like the performance. We'll get into him, but it's a scary film because of all the suggestion and all the connecting the dots. Like when he throws Pam on that hook, and you see William Vale, I guess Kirk's on the table, and then he starts the chainsaw up, and he starts this sawing into him, and then your mind just starts just going places, and what I see is going to be different from what Steve sees, and what Steve sees is going to be different what Kyle sees. Like, and that's what makes this thing work. And I believe Toby Hooper actually wanted this to be PG, so he could get more
Yes,
people
he
to
did.
watch it. So you get more people to watch it, but and a lot of it has to do with Marilyn Burns' performance. Like, you're just in her shoes, and the way she's just running for her life, it's terrifying. And just imagine seeing your brother in a wheelchair just getting torn right up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
so in a
harsh.
nutshell, you know, I mean, I can go on and on, but the original is just scary to me. It just feels scarier.
The original is definitely original is definitely scary, and it even messes you psychologically as well.
Yeah.
Because you really feel like really like injured out because it really scared the hell out of you. Especially, you know, they even use the theme, the setting as a character to scare you because how it's looks and everything. Like, where the heck are they going? And especially there's a scene when they walk when the kid when even the scene that, you know, it kind of creeps you out too when Kirk looks up and there sees all those spiders or wherever those at in that corner too. All that sounds going on. But what, you know, what really jumps, they walk into the house, no one's around, you know. Kirk trips over, you know, because he hears that pig screeching noise, and he walks in, and Leatherface comes out of nowhere, like, what the hell did they just walk into, and hits him over the head. And then, of course, the family scares the heck out of you because you really feel for Sally, because she's all stuck in there. They're all going crazy, stuck to the chair. And even when Pam falls down, there's all the chickens everywhere. I'm like, the atmosphere really
She's
scared.
looking in that room going, what the fuck?
Chickens, everything. It really messes you with your mind. And even with the way Grandma and Grandpa looked, like, damn, good makeup though. But when you really feel for Sally, it really scares you in so many weird, crazy ass ways in the original because it uses every single thing perfectly and it just nails it. The scare factor properly, I think. And so you really feel for Sally, especially when you're like, oh my gosh. So yeah, there's a lot of scare factors in each of the original.
There you go. I again kind of the same thing. I'll point out some of the good things scare factor wise in the remake. There is some suspense. I do like me a little bit of suspense. So there was, you know, a couple good moments. I think some of the payoffs from those suspenseful moments weren't as good as I would have liked. Like, I found it was good suspense when she was hiding in the locker from Leatherface, and there was a suspenseful moment and a little bit of a misdirect with the whatever it was, a possum or something in the locker. But then it kind of ruins it when she hacks his arm off in like 5 hacks. You know, this is a big muscular dude, and this little chick is gonna. That's talk about unrealistic. That was, you know, it's kind of too bad that great suspenseful moment was ruined by such an you know, an unbelievable thing that's happened. I think that's where the remake loses a lot of its scare factor for me. Is the payoffs just weren't quite there. Hiding in that little shed or something, that was good suspense in there. Payoff was better in that one. The guy got killed. She was grabbed through the. That was okay. It wasn't terrible. So I didn't love that part, but it was, you know, it worked. It was kind of a jump scare, I guess you would say. But it worked. And it was a jump scare. It wasn't, you know, a cat jumping out. Like, I hate those ones. A false jump scare, as you'd say. Like earlier in the movie, they had that possum just kind of or rat or whatever just kind of jumped out of nowhere.
Honestly, I like when Leatherface first shows up in this. And
grabs Camper,
he chases them out of the house. Like, there's the first one where he hits Kemper, I like.
Yeah.
But when he chases them, he's chasing the guy through the sheets and everything like that, and he cuts his leg off. That, I thought that was like, this is, you know, because he's lost in the sheets. I thought that was quite a a suspenseful moment.
Again,
like I knew
the payoff just ruins it. He cuts through his
Yeah.
leg like it's made out of rubber or something. Like was his leg
It's like
made of
nothing.
just, you know, was this guy's leg hollow? You know, it pretty much felt like that. You know,
you make a good point, Steve. Now that I'm thinking about it, because of the original, you don't see it, but he's literally like sawing through the guy.
He takes
Yeah,
time
like,
to get him. It takes some time
it's
to get
gonna
him.
take, no matter how strong you are, it's gonna take at least a little bit of that. Whereas it was like it was instantaneously. Those little things kind of ruin it a little bit for me. It's not huge for me. It's not like it totally takes me out, but I mean, I probably would forgive that one more so than the chopping his arm off with 5 hacks or whatever.
Shouldn't be able to do that easily.
It would take her probably an hour to hack through that guy's arm. I'm serious. At least, you know, it would. That's it.
Well, you know what?
That's serious.
I got one of those. I got one of those. I'll get a raw chicken. See how long it takes me.
Yeah, well,
and you let us know about that, Jason.
Raw chicken doesn't have bones. A raw chicken doesn't have bones like that guy's arm does, too. You got to remember that.
No, he was a big burly dude too.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so are we? That's the consensus.
I would say,
the
scare. I mean, there's more suspense in the original, I think, in my opinion, and you know, there's very few jump scares. And the most notable jump scare really pays off, in my opinion, you know, with Leatherface coming out of the woods and killing Franklin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't see I don't see how I could not give it to the original. I'm sorry, guys. I want to give more to the remake here.
Same here.
Like this close to giving cinematography to the remake.
But the thing is, like I said before, I wish I saw this when I was like, even like at 11 or 12, you know what I mean? But this is one of the, I think I saw the third movie, the first one I ever saw, but I don't even remember it now. I just remember the chainsaw
that's a forgettable movie.
I thought it was he had a huge fucking chainsaw in that one though, I think.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'm glad I've really come around to this movie. But anyway.
Especially, I just want to say too, they do this in the game as well. In the original, that shot that scares you. You see the chainsaw come through the door.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, yeah, and she has nowhere to freaking go when she's running through that house. You know what I mean?
No,
it's got a claustrophobic feel when she's in that house.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Kills. Man, you know, I gotta go the original. The original kills. Again, I think iconic is a great word. And I think, like we said before about suggestion and stuff. So I'll start with the original here. I love Kirk's kill. I mean, just the way, because he comes across Leatherface, he startles Leatherface. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Leatherface got startled. He went crack, and then he does another one that goes bang, and then that shake he does is just awesome. And then when he closes the door, there's a nice little lingering moment, which I think the remake, it didn't have the same effect at all when he shuts that door and all that kind of stuff. And he actually throws the guy down the basement, I think.
Yeah.
After, but this one, he just closes that door, and it's like Toby Hooper sits on the shot for just a few seconds, just to let you go, "Oh God," you know what I mean?
Let it sink in, yeah.
Let it sink in. And I love I like when filmmakers do that, where they kind of linger on something where you're supposed to linger on. And Pam's death, I mean, bear hugging her, throwing her on that freaking hook, just a great kill. Great
and
kill.
her reaction on the hook was
it's
priceless.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry kind of gets away, and I'll get into that when we talk about Leatherface as a
Jerry doesn't get away.
No,
I always thought that too, Jason, because after how he hits him, you look everywhere.
I've heard people say that because Leatherface looks around for him. So Jerry doesn't get away. Jerry gets smacked over the head with a hammer of some sorts, and it falls to the ground. Leatherface is reacting this way because he's like wondering where the hell all these kids are coming from, and he's like, "Are there more coming? Are there more coming?" And then the idea in that scene,
yeah, it makes you think.
I've heard Gunnar Hansen talk about this, so I know. So when you get that final bit of him, he's shaking his head and he's like frustrated. Why are there so many kids coming?
Oh God, I feel like an idiot now.
Oh, do you? Sorry, man.
Well,
but Gunnar Hansen has talked about this in interviews. I've seen a lot of BTS.
That's just the way they film it. That's what it looks like.
I could see.
It looks it looks like he's looking and he's not there.
It's like, where did you go? I do know what you mean.
He's looking for more kids, but then he's like, at the end of that, he's like, "Bring them on." He's licking his lips, like, "Bring more on." You know,
something about Gunnar's movements. I tell you.
You know what you know what I feel? Yeah, I reviewed that thinking the way I thought. So I might have to make a post tomorrow because that's important. That's important. But
you're not the first person that thought that, though.
No. Yeah. So anyways, I think what Leatherface does though is kind of what I was like in my review. I said, you know, he's there's an anxiety with him. There's like a worry to him. That's what it looked like. Like, who are these people coming into my home? And then what you're saying though makes so much more sense. So I'm glad you cleared that up for me. But yeah,
he is still worried. He's like worried that there's going to be like so many kids coming to his house that he can't handle them all or something like that.
Yeah. So okay, Jerry's dead. Okay, cool death.
Jerry's dead.
And is that who else dies in the original? Franklin. That's another one that's all
Sally.
That's a great kill. Just because you don't see nothing. You see the blood kind of splattering on Leatherface a bit. Which is all you need, isn't it? I mean, you think you know, Jason screwed a guy up in a wheelchair. This Leatherface ain't screwing around. This is just cattle to him. Like but in the remake, I was expecting a more gore fest. But they weren't they weren't using suggestion though with it. It just seemed like they were cutting away from the kill and that's it. Like when this picture here I got where he slices the guy up with the saw. And like the sequence is good and everything. Like he throws him on and he goes at him, but I just found like I think they should have showed that. I think in their movie,
there's a director's cut where they do show that. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There is an unrated director's cut. It's hard to find though.
Yeah. Kemper's death is pretty good with the hammer. I don't mind it. It's okay. And he's still alive for a bit. When he takes him downstairs. The blonde kid, they keep putting him on the hook, and when he kind of lifts himself off and he falls back on, I thought that was that's where my wife went, no. But I do the original. I mean, I'm being real here. They work so much better, the kills.
But you know, the kills are more grittier and more brutal, and the kills in the remake felt bland to me. Even though I still the kills you really felt like, whoa, he's doing that to them, because you never seen like that in a film before at that time. But they were shocking, those kills in the original. Remake, you were just like, yeah, I've seen this before. It wasn't like they were decent, but not compared to the original. So
I agree. I agree, and it's not that they're bad or anything.
No, they're not.
I don't think there's a single. I mean, I guess the one kill I really don't like is you know, the main girl, Jessica Biel, we'll call it. You know, finishing off the guy on the meat hook. I felt like that was kind of, you know, over dramatic, and I don't know. I didn't like that kill. The other kills are okay. And I mean, it was really cool when Leatherface kills the other girl. You don't see any blood or anything like that, but he turns around and it's, you know, her boyfriend.
Yeah, I like I like that. When it's the boyfriend's face.
Yeah.
That. Other than that, though, I mean, I don't know. They were just
they're okay.
Kills. Yeah, not that the original had like the most like creative, inventive sort of stuff. Maybe at least not compared to today's standards, where they get pretty creative and stuff with the types of kills they do. There's just, again, it's that gritty feel, and it feels like it's really happening right before your eyes. And I think that's why you have to give it to the original.
Yeah,
and it's bone crunching. Yeah,
but the way Leatherface is killing suits what his character is. He would just throw her on a hook, start cutting people up with a chainsaw. He's not. I don't think creative kills necessarily works with the character.
Yeah, definitely.
He's more of a slaughterhouse kill, right?
He's a slaughterhouse killer. Exactly that. You wouldn't want to do anything too over
too
the top.
crazy. Yeah.
All right. Excellent stuff, guys. Great conversation. The dinner scene. Now the remake doesn't necessarily have the dinner scene. It's when he's spitting on her, wakes her up. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it's that moment, which this is hands down. Oh my god, the original. This is shot so well, for one thing. Showing them this, they're crazy, and the way Toby Hooper's looking, where you see the family and Leatherface starts like looking at her like this. It's coming up to her. It's just creepy. She's freaking out and everything like that. I feel like in the remake, there's just a lot of like, you meet all the other family, like the mom, and which is good. The mom's good and everything like that. Leatherface is hiding in the corner. Not a fan of that, but we'll get into Leatherface's category. But this is easy. This just look how gritty that picture is. That table they're on, and the chicken legs on what they decorated the table with and stuff like that. Just awesome. And apparently it was a hectic shoot. It was hot as hell, rotting meat. It just, people are puking in the bathroom. They're coming back, and that's what I've read anyway. What I've read online and stuff like that. So the conditions, for such a low budget movie, what they went through, just the dinner scene is just fantastic, I think, and I don't think it's even a comparison.
Not really.
No, the remake scene's okay, but it doesn't hit you like the original. The shot, that light bulb, she's attached to the chair. Each family member's teasing her on their own sadistic way. You got the hitchhiker spitting at her. You got the cook just laughing. Grandpa's behind her, and they're just torturing her, and she's just out of her mind, just like, how am I supposed to get out of here? And then you really feel for her, like, come on, Sally, you can escape. The original, it's a shocking, great scene, and the way everything's, whoever did the set decorator did an amazing job with everything, making it look like that. I would imagine what the Sawyer's Christmas tree would look like.
No kidding.
Yeah. But it really messes with your mind. You're like, psychologically, that scene messes with you.
Definitely.
You feel drained.
Yeah, I mean, this is a no contest basically here. One thing I will say, just to tie that all together, is with that dinner scene, it's pretty much impossible for me to watch the original dinner scene without getting lost in it, without not forgetting that it's just a movie. It's easy to watch that scene, and you will forget that this is just a movie at some point during that scene. At least I do. And for that alone, I mean, it's I don't know. This shouldn't have even been a comparison on this one there, Jason. Yeah. I don't know. It's I mean, I know the scene you're talking about in the remake. It just that's a very bland scene. If that's I don't know.
It's not even a good scene in the movie. It's not even one of the most memorable parts.
And
I would say it is.
I think they should have had a dinner scene. I think the next movie they did. I think they did a dinner scene.
I don't think they necessarily had to have a dinner scene. I feel like they had to reveal something shocking at that scene. Something we already know these are the psycho family, but why are they psycho? And they just, the big reveal was, well, they teased my boy at school or whatever. Oh, you're one of them that teased my boy.
It was weak.
And so it was like, we're rebelling against society. And that's basically all it was. It didn't have this big reveal. And, I think they needed something. It didn't have to be a cannibalism, because, again, you're never going to capture what the original did with the cannibalism aspect. You're never gonna top that. So
I like how they're like, oh, Grandpa is the best fucking killer you ever seen. Like that was messed up, man. He's putting a hammer in his hand.
He was
and
the
he's trying
best
to
there
whack
ever
him.
was.
Oh, the best there ever was. You know.
And even what Cook says, how he feels, why he's doing what he's doing, is like very intriguing. So,
very.
it's just how he says it. Yeah. Another piece is his hands all over her, like.
Yeah. Classic.
All right, I'm just gonna go back a bit to make sure I got these numbered properly. I move on. I feel like
recap.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, we are where we're supposed to be. Oh, I missed one. Oh, I didn't add Leatherface. I forgot a picture. Anyways,
whatever.
Before we get to let's still go through Sally and Aaron, and then we'll do Leatherface last.
Cool.
Sorry, but I forgot a picture. I forgot a slide. It happens. All right. Sally or Aaron? I think Jessica Biel is fine in this movie. I think when she's acting scared, I think she works, snot coming off her face and everything. But I just don't feel it as much as I do with Marilyn Burns. With Marilyn Burns, I just feel it. I feel the fear. I feel the terror. Just look at her eyes there, how dark and terrified she is. And I mean, I don't see many people look at Sally as the greatest final girl. And I think it's like this, with her fight, she's so terrified. She's running her ass off through most of this. Like that chase scene is just absolutely amazing. And she has nowhere to go. She's crashing through like 3 windows through this. And when she does get some kind of safety, it ends up being, the oldest brother, and she's back at the house again. And so she's a survivor to me. This is what surviving is. She just survived her ass off, and I just love the performance of her. She made my top 10 final girls of all time. I grow every time I watch this. I just feel the terror and everything, and I think they took a big shit on her in that last movie, which I was like, why did you? Because we're not going to see Sally again. Well, at least I don't think anyway.
Well,
who knows? Maybe someone will try to bring her back again. But the way they handled her in that movie, I just want to forget that movie exists and just have the original with Sally in it. But I'm going with Marilyn Burns here as Sally. I just think it's a feeling. It's more of like I feel the fear, the terror, and I think she is someone who cares about people, and she's trying to find everyone. She has a history with her brother where she's taken care of him all these years, and so yeah, I get behind Sally, and I just think she does a great job in this.
Yeah, it's because Jessica Biel does a decent, okay job when she needed to at certain points. She's sometimes badass in certain scenes, but she doesn't hit the same way Sally did. Sally just really felt like just a normal girl hanging out with her friends and brother, going on a trip, and until things start to go wrong, and then once you think she's about to get away, she gets trapped again, and she really brought that realistic, like, am I going to get out of here? And the facial expressions of her, especially even at the end when she finally escapes from the truck, she's still screaming out of her mind.
And lost her mind, man.
Lost her mind at that point, and it really messed her psychologically and mentally. And I didn't like where they took the character in that 2022 film. That wasn't my Sally. That's not where she should have been. Unfortunately lost Marilyn Burns back in 2014, but she was an amazing actress, and she really brought that character to life and really brought you really feel for Sally. And I think Sally's such one of the best, not talked about much final girls over the others. I think every scene So even though she has a relationship with her brother, sometimes she can get on nerves. She still cared for everyone, and she still loved for her brother, and still did, even though they get into arguments. Her performance is just top notch in the original, I think.
Yeah. Like the moment he kills Franklin, she's on the run.
Yeah.
There's not, and then she's tied to the dinner table. It's like she's literally on the run or tied up.
Just can't get.
She can't get away. Like it's not like what we see in horror after that about, they're fighting back and they're getting away from the kid. You're not getting away from this family. Like
No.
this dude is running after her. Like it's
even
crazy.
When she gets to that big tanker truck, he gets killed, and not killed. He just runs off after the hitchhiker gets run over. Then she finally gets to safety. Like, oh my gosh, finally.
That annoyed my wife, when she watched this with me. She's like, why are they getting out of the truck? Drive
away. I do agree with, I do. Yeah. Just drive.
My wife hates it. Hates it when someone gets a killer down and they just don't start, they run away. Like that's one of her biggest pet peeves in horror.
What are you doing? Just drive.
It's like every year we watch Halloween. She's like, start stabbing the guy. What are you doing? All right, Steve, your turn, buddy.
Yes, it's Sally for me, obviously. Jessica Biel was, the character made a lot of bad choices in that movie. And you can understand some of those bad choices, but at the same time, it's there's so many. Sally was never made. I don't think you could ever say Sally made a bad choice.
No.
I don't think you could say that. I mean, what was she going to do? She ran into the gas station. I don't know. I wouldn't even call that a bad choice. Other than maybe you could say she should have done something a little bit more once she realized that this person was a psycho. But you're in the moment. I don't know. I don't think you can say she really made a bad choice. And I think that's why you have to give character-wise a little bit more to Sally, even though I think Jessica Biel's character is a little bit more developed. So you can kind of lean a little bit more in that direction for her, just a little bit more developed. But again, the acting is where it definitely give it to Sally. Jessica Biel, again, there's nothing terrible about her, but there's nothing great either. Whereas, there's so many scenes where Marilyn Burns was just in the zone. She was that terrified person. Let's start with the gas station. That moment when she's looking at the meat cooking in the barbecue there, and you see her, the way she's just shaking, and she's just that realization that this is messed up.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really barbecue. That was the first moment where cannibalism was suggested, and I think it was a good way to sort of suggest it without giving it away. Her facial reactions and the way she's just shaking, you can't. There's nothing even close to that with what Jessica Biel did, and of course the ending. When she's in that truck, just intense. She's completely lost her mind, and I think part of that is obviously because Marilyn Burns probably had completely lost her mind during filming that. Because if you've heard any of what they went through to film a lot of that stuff, and and apparently they had to reshoot that ending. So it was like she thought she was done, so they get her back up on that truck, and she's really just lost it at that point.
Yeah, I started watching the commentary on my Blu-ray and Marilyn Burns is on it with some of the other cast members. Going through the whole movie, it was pretty interesting to hear her talking about the film, like what Tobe Hooper did after the movie, like the beginning of the movie, getting those shots at the hand and all those quick. He apparently did all that after, and like by himself. I think him and just someone else. Like, so it was.
Even the conditions were crazy too on that.
Apparently, it was hot as hell.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been to Texas, but Steve can tell us how hot it is.
Steve's been there to Texas.
The last time I was there was for our premiere, and it was pretty hot. It wasn't as hot as I thought it was going to be, but apparently it was. I came at a not quite as hot as a cooler week that we were there. I guess there was a storm and stuff like that, so I didn't really get to experience any massive Texas heat. Especially when we shot the movie there. When we shot the movie, it was actually cold. It was cold.
Really?
But, oh yeah. It was It was kind of the opposite. This wind. The wind was blowing, and it was rough. But we made it.
Double Feature Podcast says the original is
Mika.
iconic indeed. Was a big fan of the remake. Very well done. Ginger Ninja says story all work. Gotta go. Gotta run. Enjoyed the stream. Thanks, man. Thanks for dropping by. Filthy Dan's here. Says Steve, I really like.
Hey Dan, how you doing, man?
Says, I like your point about Jerry's death, Steve. Yeah, that's I want to watch that scene again now.
Yeah, watch it again.
Because it almost can go both ways when you're actually watching it.
Yeah.
Listening at work and having a busy night, gents.
All good.
All right.
All good, Dan.
All good. All right, I'll get rid of this and we'll talk about Leatherface now. Both Leatherfaces. Wow. This is the big one. This is watching this, going back and revisiting both these movies, especially the remake. To me, Leatherface hits just on one note in the remake. He's just a big brute, and they went more for like I'm a hideous person underneath, so I got to cover my face up all the time. The original, I believe, Steve, maybe you can correct me on this, but there were 3 masks in the original, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is right.
So there's the working mask. So like that's our classic Leatherface. And I like, that's the one where he's going around butchering people. And then when they have the dinner and everything, or he's getting ready, he's serving the table, his whole mannerisms change. He's he's adapting another personality. And then there's the one with the lipstick on, I believe. Right?
If I'm pretty woman.
The pretty woman.
Yeah.
The
pretty lady and all that. And that's the one that chases Sally at the end too.
With the suit and everything, tie.
The suit and the tie and the dance he does at the end and everything is so messed up because it's like he's celebrating what he's done through this whole movie in a way. Like he's
and also upset she got away too at the same time.
Yeah.
Gunnar Hansen just works so much better for me here. I love the before he cuts up Kirk on the table, he does this kind of it's just the mannerism. You know what I mean, Steve? He's doing exactly this.
And there's that scene
revving up the chainsaw. He's getting that sort of, and the way he bobs his head back and forth while he's doing it is, this guy's enjoying his work.
And even the camera work around his face, and he's moving the tongue around. It's just pretty awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, and even there's nothing. The remake, I don't mind so much. I don't know. He looks huge. I mean, he looks like a tree trunk. He looks massive. I mean, Gunnar Hansen was a big dude. He he wasn't that big. It was, at least it doesn't look that way.
Different kind of big, different type of body type. I think like the Leatherface from the remake, Andrew Bruschi. He's like a bodybuilder type. He's like like somebody you'd see in WWE. So he's muscular, whereas Gunnar was more of just a big guy, just a regular big guy,
like a lumberjack, lumberjack,
exactly. Lumberjack. That, he wasn't necessarily fat. I wouldn't say he was fat, but he was just a big dude, just and naturally big dude, not a bodybuilder type. And I think that's one aspect about him, again, that just feels more authentic. You feel like you're going to run into this guy in Texas, 100%. You're going to, as soon as he's on screen, everything about him makes you believe this guy exists. I've never, there's not a doubt in my mind that somewhere in Texas there is, or somewhere anywhere, there's somebody like that. Somewhere in a redneck state or something, a redneck area out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to run into this guy. And I didn't feel that with the remake. I think that's one of the problems I have with it for the longest time, I thought my biggest problem with the remake was the mask. I don't care for the mask, but to me, it's the whole outfit, and I think he was just the wrong build. I think again, Brett Wagner. I wish he got to do more. He's that first kill. He's
only in one shot, isn't he?
He's only in that. Well, he's that first kill. He's that entire first kill. And you look at Brett's body type, you can see the difference in the body type, and there's something more right about him for the role, to me, anyways.
Unfortunately, he got sick. Unfortunately,
he got
heat stroke because the costume was so hot. And again, it's just it's that costume. It was the wrong kind of. It was wrong. It was wrong for Leatherface. I get what they're trying to do, trying to make it look different and make him more into a monster. I think it was sort of the idea was dehumanize him a little bit so you don't really get to see his arms sticking out or anything like that. I don't know. It doesn't work for me though. And he's wearing elbow pads and stuff like that. I thought that looked goofy. To me, it looked goofy.
I always like how Gunnar plays it when he's interacting with the family member, especially when Cook's being mean to him. I think that I really like how he acts in that scene. You nailed every aspect of Leatherface.
And it's the biggest scene, the one I misinterpreted. Like I'll go like I always thought because he looks down, I always thought Kirk or Jerry was gone, and then he went out. He was looking for him. That's how I interpreted it. But now that I'm running it through what you say, Steve, if Gunnar said it, it's obviously true. So
he said it. I think even Toby said it.
He kills a lot of times. Jerry, and he's going out to go. Who else is coming? What are all these fucking people doing in my house? And he's kind of got this anxiety. He's kind of moaning, doing those like, whatever. And then he sits down and like used to that. See, even when I reviewed this, I thought, well, why is he licking his lips? But what you're saying makes so much fucking sense now. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, okay, let's bring it on, right?
It's so subtle. All the things you get on Leatherface are so subtle, and without hearing it in context, you might not pick up on it. Not even the whole reason why he wears the masks and the different personalities that he takes on while wearing them. And I think it's proof that it was too subtle maybe for a lot of people, because none of the other films in the franchise, carry on that sort of idea with Leatherface that he takes on.
But that's what I like about him. That's what I like about it, because there's more character to him. There's not so much of it in there.
Definitely
there's not much of it. There's a few scenes, like a few times you see how he acts and interacts and all this. But
because
kind of stuff.
there's nobody saying throughout the film, oh, you don't have the cook saying, oh, now you're the pretty woman for the night. You don't have that that moment of exposition. Nowadays, audiences need that though. They need that spoon.
No, I don't need it. I clearly get it.
Drives me nuts.
I clearly get it from what they're showing me. Like, you know what I mean? And like I say, the more you watch film, and clearly if you make one like Steve has, you're gonna understand this stuff more. But the more
I bet people didn't understand that aspect of my film very much, probably either. I did it a little differently, but I thought your dinner scene was amazing.
It was awesome.
I thought it was very much like
making it a dinner scene. I did because it's not really a dinner scene. It's a reveal scene.
And you really picked a good Leatherface for your movie too. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. He's a little older than I was. Scotty was a little older than I was, wanting to cast. But
I liked how you had that thing of them using women to impregnate, but you left this ambiguity to it. At the end there, because
that was the whole purpose of Leatherface's last mask. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. The last mask he's wearing at the dinner scene and everything. It's the face of the father that was killed and the hair of the mother. Again, the wig doesn't really look as much like the mother as we were trying to style her hair like that, but we couldn't. So that's the reason why a lot of people don't get that whole aspect of it. But it's Leatherface taking on the parental figure.
Roles. That's right.
Yeah,
I haven't watched your movie since last year. It's come out, so I'm definitely. I haven't watched my DVD yet, so I'm gonna.
I've watched my Blu-ray a few times already.
Cool. Well, watch the special feed. Watch the director's commentary, because then you'll you'll hear me talk about all that. So you can see what each mask he wears.
You get a lot of insight, and when people start judging a film, saying I don't understand all these decisions, watch the director's commentary.
Yeah.
I did that with Ridley Scott's Prometheus and the Alien Covenant. He really explains every decision he made. Like, he really goes into detail saying, have you guys both seen Alien Covenant?
Yeah,
I actually haven't. I haven't seen that.
Okay, I'm not gonna say anything, but
I know it did get some not so good reviews. But
watch the director's commentary, because then you might see where he's coming from. But anyways, the point is, you learn a lot. You learn a lot when a director says, I did this for a reason, I did that for a reason.
Well, a lot of what I say in my director's commentary is more like, well, we didn't have budget to do what I really wanted to do, so we had to do this instead. So a lot of it in our film was that we just made the best of what we could. But certain things like Leatherface, the masks he wears and the different personalities he's actually taking on from each mask is kind of explained in there a little bit more. It's
just amazing. Your film, you actually get to film in Texas. Not every fan film gets to say that.
Yeah.
I pretty much had no choice. The fans wouldn't let me.
No,
once I said it's my goal to film in Texas, I was getting messages.
It didn't take very long either.
Yeah, I mean, it's you wouldn't believe it. I know for sure I secured at least $10K just because we're filming in Texas, and I wouldn't have received that much because a lot of people were funding it based on us shooting in Texas, and these were people that wanted to be extras in the film and all that kind of stuff. So I pretty much had no choice. Yeah, it cost me a few grand to fly myself and 2 actors there. But when you consider, well, it cost me a few grand in plane tickets. We had free accommodations, which was awesome. But you've got like 10 grand, at least 10 grand in investors. It was kind of a no-brainer. We had to shoot the movie in Texas. It was freaky as hell for me to do that, but had to do it.
Well, this was the original killed this movie 26-1. Remake at one point.
It really was that. I almost gave the cinematography to the remake. And
I was the only one who gave the remake a point for character. That's it.
If we're going strictly technical, cinematography, the remake wins in cinematography. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Dance's original gets lots of points for the sheer insanity of the whole project, but the remake is more of a fun watch. Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm like Steve though. I find the movie kind of picks up, and then it's like, okay, I'm getting bored. Then it picks up again. And you know what? It's this director too, because the Friday the 13th remake is the same thing.
It's been a while since I've seen that remake.
Slow down. It picks up. It slows down.
The beginning's awesome of the remake.
That's my point.
Yeah.
To me, it's just so polarizing, though. It's like the great stuff of the remake is really great. It really makes you feel like, okay, this is going to be it. This is going to be awesome. And then it's something right after brings it down, and it's just too bad because I feel like it could have been fantastic. I think I'm too hard on the remake because it really is the second best in the franchise. It really is, and I don't think any of the other ones even come close. I know a lot of fans of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 out there. They love the comedy of it. I don't find it funny. I don't know. I'd never found that movie very funny.
The second one's just terrible.
A lot of people love it.
I
don't know. I guess I just don't get the humor. But
what makes this too is that they stubbed Jim Seedale. I think he's still.
I guess so.
I hate Leatherface in the second one.
I do too. It's not Gunner.
So goofy.
Yeah, it's just that it's just Jim Seedale is still the best part of the movie.
Yeah. But
you know what? There's even I know I'm on an island on this, and I haven't seen it in a while. But I know there's some continuity issues with Texas Chainsaw 3D. But there are some moments I think where I did like.
Same here. I agree.
I don't.
Really?
I know people. Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I mean, it's. I remember liking it more than the others anyway. But that's not saying much. I guess.
mean, Alexander Daddario's not bad to look at.
Well,
Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I'll say this about that movie: probably the best Leatherface, other than after Gunnar Hansen. It's unfortunate what they did with the character, but as far as the actor's portrayal, how well the actor got the mannerisms and stuff like that, which I think goes a little bit unnoticed, unfortunately, just because they wrote the movie and wrote the character to be a sympathetic character and all this kind of stuff, kind of takes you out of that and makes you forget that this guy actually had some of those Gunnar Hansen style movements down, even though his body shape was a little different. He was a little not quite as heavy as Gunnar, but taller than Gunnar.
Yeah.
But again, I'll give the actor that played Leatherface props in Texas Chainsaw 3D. He actually got some good mannerisms in.
He just comes out of nowhere too when he first appears, just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Great stuff, guys. Thanks for coming on, and
thanks for having me.
I'll end it with a couple. A question for you, Steve. If you want to plug your film you're working on now, go ahead. Tell us what what you can, what it's about. But
I can't tell too much. It's one of those movies I can't give too much away, but it's a psychological thriller called Unseen. We're crowdfunding on Indiegogo right now. We've raised somewhere over $20,000. I don't know how much exactly. Have to look at the numbers, but we're looking to film next spring. We're going to be filming it here in Western Canada. As far as storyline of the movie goes, I can say this: it's a movie that's going to put the viewer into the mind of the antagonist, which I think can be very frightening, especially when your antagonist is pretty much like anybody that just had a really, really terrible day.
I like it. From the teaser you put out, I got real Black Christmas vibes in the.
It does.
It's
definitely an inspiration. Definitely a heavy.
And I know you love that film. I love that film. So I'm excited. So excited for it because, yeah. So that's awesome. And Kyle, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Well, tomorrow will be a birthday stream tomorrow because I know Jason will be part of that with other special guests, and there'll be also games part of it. We'll be just celebrating my 29th birthday. It'll be a blast. Next Saturday I'll be interviewing a stuntman royalty in Hollywood, Chuck Borden. He's been doing stunts for many years. He's done stunt coordinator for movies like now I'm blanking up the movies for some stupid ass reason, but he played Ghostface in Scream 3.
Oh, okay.
He's done stunt coordinator for Haunted on Hill House, Hush.
Works for Flanagan.
With lots of Flanagan and a lot of amazing movies anyway. But and then
very cool.
Too, I'm also close to working on an interview with Tom Lee Wallace, the Halloween 3 director, and the awesome. OG director of Child's Play, Tom Holland. Not the mix with the actor Tom Holland, but the OG Child's Play director Tom Holland. Still working things out, close to getting them on. So that'd
be awesome.
Cool.
Those are 2 movies that are in my top 10 horror films of all time. So that's pretty awesome.
And I got other amazing stuff that's behind the scenes I cannot talk about yet. So
cool.
Awesome. Well, I wish everyone a happy Friday the 13th tomorrow. So check at 7:00. I'll be premiering, so you guys could join me in the chat for the top 50 Friday the 13th kills. So I did 2 weeks of editing on that one, so it's gonna be a fun one.
Can't wait to find out what your number one is.
You will never guess. You'll never guess unless you know me and you watch the old channel.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm not saying.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a new audience now, so a little bit. But that was fun. And then on the Monday, I got my top 10 Halloween moments of the franchise for Michael Myers Monday, and I think my number one is a classic scene. But, they're always fun to put together. So I got those coming out, guys. And you probably won't see me live for a while until my Halloween special. We're going to be watching Halloween, the original Halloween, on October 26th here.
I forgot
and then November will be a Rocky Watch Party series. So,
ooh, how did I know you would bring back Rocky again?
It's November. I always feel like watching Rocky.
Oh, if we don't,
I
I'll
always
be
feel
so
like
much
watching
longer.
Rocky. I always feel like it, and yeah, and you know, I was watching the Rocky Files before I came on, and they were talking about, you know, Rocky 5 and how they were defending it, and I go, yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's not as bad as people say it is.
It ain't
It's
actually.
Definitely not.
it's
Underrated.
not. It's
Underrated.
it's got some things in it that I think that's the one Stallone should have redone, or what do you call it? Recut.
Director's cut. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some footage that he left out that you're wondering, like, why is that not in there? So it's pretty interesting. But anyways, so what's going on the channel, guys? At Backtrack Cinema.
Yeah, I forgot to say one more thing. I'll be doing 2 things on Tuesday: a Halloween ranking with Peter Anthony, and then you can catch me on Katie's channel, Popping and Popcorn. We'll be reviewing Jumanji, Robin Williams' Jumanji. So
cool. Awesome.
And Steve, do you still do your live shows, or is that kind of on hold right now?
It's once in a while. I think I'm probably going to do one in the next week or 2. I don't do them as often as I used to. That's for sure. Just no time.
I hear you. This is only my 9th episode in a year.
Yeah, I love doing them, and I will let my fans know when I've got my next one going. But yeah, it's been a while. I know. Sorry.
I enjoy them.
Oh yeah, Chuck Borden was also the stunt coordinator on Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining.
Oh yeah, I love that. Speaking of Brett Wagner, I kicking myself in the pants because we have a horror coffee shop in Oshawa here, where I live, which is just, you know, east of Toronto. So he was at this coffee shop for a signing, and but I couldn't get the time off work that afternoon to go and meet him because I wanted to talk about that, you know, what his idea for playing Leatherface was, but I never got the opportunity. But yeah, he was there signing autographs and talking about this. It's called Deadly Grounds, where you buy it's like a coffee shop, right? But for horror. They're at all the conventions here, and they actually had the girl who played Claire watching Black Christmas in the coffee shop. You all I missed that too last Christmas. I was like, man, I gotta get to these things.
Yeah, come on. What are you doing, Jason?
So Lynn Griffin, Lynn Griffin, you could watch. She was there, answer questions, and you all watched Black Christmas in the coffee shop. They had a big event there. But Christmas is so busy when you have kids, and it's
very true.
It was I just could not get away, man. So I was like, oh, I hope they do that again. But anyways, I guess we're out of here. I'm gonna bid you all a good night. Yep. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to bid everyone a good night in the chat. Thank you all for showing up. Don't be shy. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I don't do live regularly, but I try to get on here as often as I can. But lots of content anyway. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun, guys. So, you know, I talk movies of the past. You know, I'm kind of just an old movie lover because I can never get to the theater. So if you like that kind of thing in the sci-fi action horror genre, this is the channel for you. So definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you all have a good night, and I'll see you later.
Have a good night, everyone.
Cheers. Have a good night.